nearly night, the hours have gone by. There's a lot of energy, a lot of heat. I'm so glad that some people had the brilliant, compassionate idea of bringing cold water. Otherwise, we would have had some people getting dehydrated here in grand old Miami. So, of course, we had the typical visitation of a couple of Trump supporters trying to pass off all incognito, pretending to be the press. But I don't know. I mean, last time I checked, I thought the press was supposed to be unbiased. It looked pretty ridiculous when I saw even some sporting little stop the bias stuff when they were pretty much biased themselves. And whoa, people behind me are getting really worked up, right? A lot of enthusiasm for the Young Turks here. And I don't know if you can see it because again, it's really dark now. But we had a lot of people come down tonight to protest. To demand a whole bunch of causes, because that's what was beautiful about this gathering. It wasn't just, hashtag this is my own personal cause. No, so many progressive, enlightened spirits got together this evening to just demand that our politicians, maybe it's one of them about to have the debate tonight, maybe it's going to be on the second panel tomorrow, because tomorrow we will be coming down as well. We basically just want the politicians to remember that it's not just what the parties dictate or the donors. We essentially want the people's demands to be taken seriously. And that includes sometimes some pretty reasonable, transversal, across-the-board things. I think it's more than necessary right now. For instance, just to name one of the causes, to give an example, healthcare reform. Because whenever you talk about giving people access to healthcare, you get the typical question of, but who's going to pay for that? Well, guess what? We're already paying for it, but we're paying for a big, gigantic bureaucracy, the middlemen that are not physicians. They're not giving people the access to healthcare that they need, but we're still paying for them. So we don't want to turn this country, this great country, into a communist Soviet Union, because that's basically what I just keep hearing from the one or two Trump supporters that manage to squeeze on by with their little cameras, actually cell phones, trying to become the next Alex Jones, using megaphones, sometimes even pulling out the victim card. They talk about the left using the victim card. I saw a couple of victims here whining about how they don't want communism to spread. Well, a lot of these demands, like I said, it's not about communism. In fact, it doesn't even matter what name you give it. The reality is that the people are coming together and we're demanding that not just the other side listen to us, but that our representatives, our politicians, because Democrats have a huge possibility of winning if they get their act together, not just supporting neoconservative policies, but actually progressive and realistic things that some Republicans might even agree with. Because one thing is quite obvious: there's not a lot of tepid, lukewarm, soft centrist policies here. I mean, we've got people demanding what they want with all the conviction of the world. And it's kind of what's been happening on the other side as well. And whether you agree with these policies or not, it is a reality. The parties, political establishments are going to have to start listening to what the civilian organizations, these coalitions are demanding. And it's not just an American situation. It's also a phenomenon that's been spreading all across Europe and South America. And climate change, it's real. It's been more than documented that it is partially man-made to be prudent and, not to offend some people. Some of it is our doing. I guess some people just want to live in denial and not face the guilt. But all the different demands, every single one of them, whether it's release the children that are being detained in these camps, whether it's raising the minimum wage, turning into a living wage, not having people, hardworking Americans, have to live in basements and attics and bedrooms when they work so many hours that the unions have tried to turn them into more reasonable things, but we keep having to resist, because that's just the beautiful thing about the fight. It just never stops, does it? No, because if you relax, if you just go to bed and pretend that all that you ever wanted was done and taken care of, you'll wake up the next day in a totally corporate-owned, right-wing, totalitarian government where your voice does not count. So even that competition, that struggle, that fight, that belongs in the free market, does it not? So we're not promoting communism here. It actually looks like a lot of people here are mainly promoting an America where there is a competition, where not one political totalitarian idea takes over the rest. No, where we have a struggle and a fight, and politicians have to compete for our precious votes. And let's not forget, politicians are not pharaohs, because I am so sick and tired of how every time you have a complaint, you have a small bit of criticism, you get all those rabid fans of whoever you decided to criticize coming after you. How dare you criticize the sun god? Well, guess what? Politicians, let's not forget, are our elected officials. They're our public servants. So what does that mean? We are ultimately the people in power. Yes, but we can't forget that. And they want us to forget that. They want us to just stay home, get all cynical, and believe that our voice and our movement, our taking to the streets, does nothing. Well, guess what? It's false. And time again, year after year, the people have demonstrated that when they get their act together and actually work on something, we do make a difference. So let's not get cynical. Don't listen to the people that tell you, oh, doing signs, protesting, that never solved anything. Yes, it did. One of the reasons that you're able to even have these opinions is because people, years ago, somebody somewhere fought for your rights. Your right to vote, your right to not be exploited until slavery, your right to have even firefighters, So let's not get cynical and continue to fight and be proud to have civilian protests. Thank you.